it's not always about your job role. It's about you as an individual.
Young people do that because they want to see how far their social is willing to go.
We have to help these young people prepare for real life.
You know what? There's more to us than just kicking a football and just rapping.
Yeah.
As a black man, I can be educated. What are you saying, people? It's another episode of The Social Worker and the Mentor. What are you saying, man?
I'm hot.
Yeah.
Hot, man. Listen, yeah, I want to wear the vest. I want to bust that yellow. Yeah, you know the thing already.
Bro, I don't understand why you're complaining, bro. You went on holiday. I went on holiday.
No, but this is a different sort of heat, though, you know.
Bruv,
you know what
man.
it is? London is not really prepared for this sort of heat. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a little bit of breeze in that, but...
No, I hear you.
But you know what? The energy is amazing.
Nah, it is. It is.
It's actually hot because we've got an amazing...
Hey, listen,
guest.
people, yeah. All I'm saying is, see this person across? That's a powerhouse, you know. This is a big powerhouse in the room.
She's trying to smile.
I know. Listen, you can get gassed at it. You can get gassed. This is all I want to say is this person across us is somebody who, I'm gonna lie, the work that is being completed by this fantastic woman. Yeah, I'm gonna say that again. Fantastic woman is doing amazing work. Yeah, but I'm gonna let you introduce yourself. The floor is yours.
Well, my name is Aliyah Ali. I'm the founder of an organisation called the Daddyless Daughters Project.
No.
No.
Did you know right? Yeah, listen.
You know what it is?
No.
She's
not making me hot, man.
She's being humble, bro.
Listen, bro. When you introduce a person, you have to big them up here now, yeah?
Listen.
Okay, right. I'll have a go, right, yeah?
No. I didn't do anything wrong, yeah? I didn't do anything wrong. Listen, she's being too humble. She's being too humble.
She's got credentials.
Listen. We're going to run that back in it. Introduce yourself, please.
Okay, so my name's Aliyah Ali. I'm a trauma-informed trainer, consultant, lived experience leader, and I also run an organisation called the Daddyless Daughters.
Aha!
Amazing.
That is what we like. That's what we like. But wait, Rob, did you hear that?
Nah, did you hear it?
No, did you hear it? Guys, you know what you need to do?
Right.
You like,
Here, there,
subscribe,
down
share.
there.
You should see it. You should see it right now, yeah. On your YouTube screen, you should see it right now. All the Social Worker and the Mentor, yeah. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram. We're not on Apple because this man's being long. He's being long. We're on Spotify.
I've been traveling the world, innit, yeah?
And listen, we got amazing things coming up. Yeah, amazing things coming up. Yeah, but you know what to do. You like, subscribe, you share. You can follow me. You can follow Rob. And if you want to come onto the show, it's the Social Worker and Mentor at gmail.com. Yeah.
And you know, I just want to say one thing. Obviously, this is like it's summer. We're going into. In fact, no, we're back into the academic year now. So
Yeah.
I hope everyone's had a great summer.
Yeah.
I hope you're taking time out. Listen, well-being, mental health, taking time out is important. Being refreshed is important.
Yeah.
Like let's reset, let's re-go, let's make it happen. And yeah, man.
100%.
So
Right. So, Aliyah Ali, tell us about you because, you know, we have seen a lot of your work, but we want to find out about your journey. You know, your growth, your upbringing. Tell us about yourself. Let's get to know the real you.
Well, I grew up on one of the biggest estates in Europe, Aylesbury Estate in southeast London.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where my family's originally from. And yeah, I guess like growing up on that estate back then, it was crime culture was embedded in us. That was kind of what the estate was about. I remember we used to have like all of our blocks used to be connected. So like the local gang members would run into our estate and it was easy to lose the police and stuff. So like we obviously grew up like every other night hearing helicopters, chaos, sirens, that type of stuff. So that's the community I grew up in. And the household I grew up in was kind of just as chaotic, if not even more chaotic. My mum, she grew up, she was adopted, so she had her own trauma that she was kind of carrying throughout my childhood. And me, I have 3 siblings. We all have different dads, and yeah, all of her relationships kind of broke down due to abuse, and also due to the way that kind of she was showing up in those relationships due to her childhood trauma. She also had like severe mental health issues. So she was bipolar. She was like up and down all the time. You know, she suffered from severe depression as well. And then she also was an alcoholic. So she started self-medicating when I was quite young. And yeah, just as a result of kind of all these things combined, us as the children, we got lost in the midst of all that chaos. And I think like it's taken me a long time to actually understand that like she wasn't even able to meet her own needs. So she could definitely not meet ours as her children. But I do think she tried her best. And my dad, he was an immigrant. So he also like was a bit of a criminal himself. Throughout my childhood, he was in and out of prison. Like there was spurts where he was around, then spurts where he wasn't. But he was present in my life, in my childhood. And then before I knew it, he got deported, and then I never heard from him again. It wasn't my dad, like growing up, all the abuse and violence and stuff that I saw growing up, it wasn't from my dad, it was from my younger brother's dad. So we never met my sister's dad. My dad kind of had more of a relationship with my older sister. I had more of a relationship with my younger brother's dad, and my younger brother didn't get an opportunity to have that relationship with his dad. And then by the age of about 11, 12, the family situation broke down. My sister moved out at quite a young age. She got a job. She went down the hostel route from about 15, 16. Back then you could get hostels quite easily when quite young. Yeah. And she used to like work in McDonald's, and I remember there was times like when my mum, she would go out drinking and like she would leave on Monday, she wouldn't come back till like Thursday or whatever. My sister used to like steal the food from McDonald's and bring it back, like we'd run out of electricity. So my sister couldn't cope with having to keep coming back and checking on me and my brother. He was a baby at that time. And so she kind of reached out to social service and let them know what was happening in our household. And then they came in, and then I remember us all sitting down and having this meeting, and where they clearly like said to my mum, like, you need to leave. And that was the day that kind of, everything broke down, and her and my little brother fled to women's refuge for domestic violence survivors. And I went to go live with my dad for a couple of weeks. Then that's when I started running away, and like my behavior started to get really complex, and I wasn't at an age where I was ready to speak about the things that I had been through and seen in the house. And then at this time, my sister got her permanent flat. Then I ran away to my sister's house, and then just basically didn't leave my sister's house from there. And my sister was trying to like, get her life together and stuff. And it wasn't helpful. The school keeps calling her. I keep getting arrested. I kept ending up in situations where she had to kind of leave her job or leave what she was doing and come and parent me, essentially. She was a mum before she even gave birth. And so, one day I got a case where that actually went to court and stuff like that. And then my sister came, and she just stood up in court and was just like, put her wherever you need to put her, but she ain't coming home with me. And she left the youth courts in Camberwell, magistrates. And then that was the day I was bailed to local authority. And that's kind of how I went into care. And I only lived in residential children's homes throughout my time in care. Because back then they told me, you're not fosterable. And me internalizing that, thinking, nobody wants me, and that kind of feeding into my beliefs of lack of self-worth and all of that type of stuff, when really it was just a section that I was under. And like my mom had to cooperate in order for me to go into foster care. There was like a behavior mentor that I had at school, and her sister wanted me to go and live with them full time, and that didn't really work. There was quite a few professionals around me at that time that really wanted to invest in me and really wanted to take me on, but for some reason it just didn't happen. So I ended up living in residential children's homes, and I guess we all know how that story ends.
What I want to ask, Aliyah, is, so someone who is a social worker, what was your relationship like back then with social services? Like, was your social worker present? Did you see your social worker? How was your social worker with you during that period? Because you mentioned a lot about the local authority involvement. So how present was your social worker?
I don't remember my social workers being that present when I was in care. And then I also made it very difficult for them to be in my presence when they did come around. I consciously made them uncomfortable. And I think it was because I didn't because they weren't really around like that. So when they did come around, I'd just be thinking, just like, you're just trying to tick a box. Like, you don't really care about what's going on for me and stuff like that. So I purposely would make them uncomfortable for that reason. And secondly, I think it was because I by that age, I had so many barriers up that, like, I used to test people. So like, if you really cared about me or you really wanted to be a part of my life, then you'll take all my shit first. Yeah. In order for me to see, like, if you're really, like, about that life. Yeah. Because I had, like I said, I had behavior mentors that, like, they still held me accountable. Like, even when I would get aggressive, or like I would cuss them out or do whatever and switch on them, they still held me accountable. But there was a level of nurturing that they gave me. So I still had a sense of, like, I knew when a professional cared and when they didn't. Yeah. Basically. So yeah. I don't remember seeing them that often. I only really remember them coming around during, like, LAC reviews and stuff like that. Even when I went into prison, they used to, like, so we haven't got to that part of the story yet, but, like, they just come and visit me to do a report. But you don't know what T-shirt I'm putting on my back. You don't know if I'm wearing a bra. Like, you don't know what's. You're not meeting my needs. You're just doing what you have to do to get your job done.
Do you know, Aliyah, do you know, there's so much I want to ask you, right? But I want to try not to ask you the same questions that you might have been asked before, right? So I'm trying to come from different angles, right? So my job is I work for YOS, probation, early years, and, like, social care as well, yeah. And I visit a lot of semi-independents every week with a lot of young women. My caseload is probably half young girls, mouthy, cheeky, and they're in a bad place. One of the questions I want to ask you: when did you realize that you understood your trauma as a young woman? And do you feel a lot of young girls today know about, okay, they know how to play the system, as you said before just now, they know what professional they can sort of, like, you know, take the mickey out of, whatnot. And when did you realize that, okay, do you know, when you was, like, maybe, I don't know, let's say 17, 18 or 15, 16, when did you realize that, do you know what, there's something wrong here, I don't know how to understand what I'm going through, but I've got a few role models or a few people that's got my back, but then I can see certain professionals are just letting me down, or they're playing the game, or in other words, they've got to tick the box, basically. When did you know that? Sorry to ask so much.
No, it wasn't until I went to prison, and it was because I got very tired of fighting this system in the way that I was so tired of getting twisted up. I was just so tired of, like, that us versus them mentality. So I had to pause and, like, think, and I think that's when I realized this is a game I'm not going to win. We're never going to win this game between us and them. And when I say us and them, it's like, I think that us and them mentality first gets embedded growing up in the environment that I grew up in, the estate that I grew up in. Yeah. And then if you become a child of the system, it evolves between us and the system. Whoever presents themselves as the system is them, basically. And so, I don't think I realized that until I got to prison. And then, like, I spent a lot of my sentence, I did about 2.5 years in prison, and I spent a lot of my sentence in isolation. And that was when I could kind of ask myself those kind of important questions that I didn't feel like I had the opportunity to ask myself when I was actively in the community and in care, because you're in survival mode, right? You don't have time to think about nothing, really and truly. So
being in isolation, how is that mentally? Because, as I said, I do a lot of prison visits, and there's a lot of, you know, young boys, even girls, they break. Some make someone to self-harm, commit suicide. So how was that for you, and how has it impacted on you maybe, like, now as a professional? I see, I've done my research. I told you.
It's done great for my professionalism. Because I know how to quiet the noise. Right. And I know how to focus on something. So in terms of, like, my career and, like, what I'm trying to build, and, like, being so in tune with, like, my vision and where I want to take things, it's done wonders. Okay. It's not done wonders in my personal life, because I struggle to let people in. I struggle to, like, form relationships till this day. It's so easy for me to form a professional relationship. I can form a relationship with somebody based on business like that. But if it's about personal stuff or friendship, and, like, I've really, really, really struggled to kind of let people in. It takes a long time. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. And that's a lot with trauma. Trauma is a double-edged sword. If you can figure out, and that's the main thing that we do within our organization, is about teaching these girls how to live with what they've gone through.
Yeah.
And also how to make it work for them and not against them. When I was a young person, it was all working against me. It wasn't until I went to prison I could process it and I could actually understand what my parents had been through, what I had been through, all of that type of stuff, that I could come out and figure out, okay, cool, how am I going to make this work for us now?
Yeah.
I started asking myself different questions. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
One of the things, Aliyah, I think with what you've spoken about, it is very, very powerful. And for somebody, as Rob said earlier, being a social worker and even like looking at where I work now, being a manager of a lot of children who are looked after, there are a lot of, as you said, a lot of young girls actually who are going through this. How important is the professional relationship? Because one thing that you mentioned, which is very powerful, and we hear all the time, is that professionals are coming in, and a lot of it is tick box. Was there a professional? Because you said it, whereby actually you knew actually this professional cared and they actually made a difference to my journey. Was there one professional that you had during your period where, actually I'll push the boundaries, but you know what, this professional here, you're sticking with me and actually you're helping me in terms of my growth and my healing process?
Yeah, there was 4. There was Miss Mitchell, who was my behaviour mentor in secondary school, but we all know how the story goes. Yeah, once you go into care, I've dropped out of secondary school by year 9. I'm not, I lose that person, even though she's tried to stay close. She tried. It's not enough. And then before I know it, I don't even know how to maintain relationships due to the trauma that I've experienced in my childhood. Yeah, so I don't know how to constantly keep her updated or like it's. But I know that if I know that she genuinely cares about me, basically. So I lost her. Then there was 2 key workers in my 3rd children's home. One of them was a guy and one of them was a woman. Wayno, who's the guy, I had the strongest relationship with Wayno. Wayno would so when I went into live in children's homes, obviously I started forming unhealthy relationships with local gang members in my area. All the children's homes that I lived in at the time that were under my local authority were in the middle of estates. They were right next to estates anyway. And it was all, I was still in the same borough. So I just kept meeting older guys who weren't in, because I wasn't in school. So the only people left for me to mix with are older people who are on stuff that obviously I'm not supposed to be on as a young person. So anyway, I started meeting these local gang members and whatever. And then before you know it, I started doing county lines and stuff like that. So my missing episodes were always through the roof. Yeah. Wayno was the only professional that would wait. Like when he was doing overnight shifts, he would wait for me, and he would not even when I would come in, he wouldn't even question me where you been and be on to me like that. It was just a normal conversation. I could tell him the wildest stories and he might laugh and he might be like, you lot are just do you understand? And he would plant seeds over a period of time. And then I think it was about 7 months in, they accused Wayno of trying to groom me. And then before you know it, Wayno was gone. So then that was the next.
Regular, trust me.
And so that was the next professional that I had that really was doing some serious work with me. And you know how it gets in those environments, because it's it does get to a point where I'm not willing to talk to no other staff member than Wayne. I'm waiting for Wayne. If I want something, I want to get clothes, whatever, I only want to step out with Wayne. I only want to talk to Wayne because there's something about Wayne that makes this abnormal situation feel normal, feel loving, feel and obviously he was also a black male. He was somebody that I could connect with. He wore New Era hats. He was he did basketball coach. He had a life outside of all this nonsense and once he was gone, that was it. My behavior went through the roof, and I didn't want to talk. Nobody didn't explain anything to me, and I knew that there was because obviously living in these homes and different stuff, you just feel the energy, you feel things shifting, and you feel staff start to get resentful of other staff members, and we do play on it as kids. It's like living with 2 parents, and your 2 parents get divorced. You go to dad for something, you go to mum for the other. So we naturally just start to clock these things. Then once it went through the roof, that was that. It was a wrap.
Go on, man.
Go on.
As I said, I do a lot of go to a lot of semi-independent homes. I talk to a lot of key workers as well. And you've actually, like, you said a key thing, right? Yeah, there is a lot of jealousy, right, in staff members and their rapport with other young people.
Yeah.
There is.
And sometimes if they see one staff member has a good rapport with a young person and maybe they're not getting the same rapport, a form of jealousy, you know?
Yeah.
Then it's like, oh, yeah, it could be grooming or
Exactly.
Yeah.
you're doing too much or, oh, yeah, you're going a bit too above and beyond. But that's your job role.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's called nurturing, isn't
Exactly,
it? Yeah?
yeah.
Do you understand where I'm coming from? As long as there's no safeguarding or child protection elements involved in it. And I reckon that's what probably happened as well, you know?
Yeah.
I hear these common things where you have a member of staff that's there to nurture and help the young person, and then they're gone.
Yeah.
You know?
And you know what? With what Aliyah has said, sometimes when that happens, like the moment that young person, they lose that key worker or that social worker or that teacher or that mentor who actually was their go-to, that attachment breaks. And Aliyah, you mentioned it is a very, very powerful thing that you said. And we see it a lot with a lot of our cases was about the attachment. Yeah. So you spoke about the fact that actually you would seek the attachment elsewhere. And actually, when you have got that, and I think this is learning for professionals who are watching this, but when there are young people and they work particularly well with that professional is quite vital to their care plan because they can, in essence, maybe divert that young person to a better pathway. So I think anybody watching this, you have to heed on what Aliyah is saying, because we have so many young people who are going through this, but actually that key worker who's on shift, that person is going to be very, very central to that young person potentially turning things around. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know another thing as well? This is like years that I've seen this, right? Yeah. All right. So I feel like in some local authorities, in some semi-independent homes, with some social workers, they're harder on the girls than they are on the boys.
They are, yeah.
Yeah. Now, yeah, some of the girls can be wild. I'm never gonna lie to you, right? Yeah. Some of them are wild, you know. They're not wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could probably all can in it.
Yeah.
They're wild, you know. But it just seems they're just very on the girls, like more like, you know, like, where are you? And just thinking, hang on, man, this boy's been committed for doing this and that. This girl's done maybe half of what he's done, but it's so much harder.
Yeah.
Right. And I almost feel like, to a degree as well, that the girls are often very much forgotten about. It's almost like, oh yeah, they're okay. Oh yeah, they're mature. Oh yeah, it's a little phase. But no, girl gangs on the rise, you know?
Yeah.
People don't really, like, they're not talking about it enough.
Yeah, it's true.
You know?
It's true.
Teenage HIV, that's another conversation for another
Yeah,
day,
it's
right?
true.
Right? So teenage pregnancy, it's on the rise again.
It is.
You know,
It is.
so
It is.
I very much feel they're just very much forgotten about, and the support is there,
Yeah.
but we need more. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Because if you type in on the internet, I don't know, female mentorship or organizations, it's not a lot.
It's not a lot.
More's got to be done. Do you know what I mean, man? But sorry, but yeah, just another question, right? Yeah. So, your young trauma, right? Yeah. Do you think young people understand it? And when you was going through it, right? Yeah. How was you feeling? Because I think sometimes this is for like our young followers or professionals.
But also our girls though, because they need to hear this. Yeah.
So what is the feeling of going through trauma? What is the feeling of depression? Like what are the symptoms? Like what is it? Is it?
It's so weird because you don't feel it, but you do. So like I due to my childhood trauma, I have a diagnosis which is called complex PTSD. Yeah, and complex PTSD is an emotional disorder. So, for example, me saying like when I woke up in my children's home and Wayne was just gone, nobody was giving me answers. My complex PTSD, and I didn't know this at that age, automatically how my brain processes that, you put me in a child state of mind as when I woke up and my mum was gone because she went drinking and she weren't coming back for days.
Right.
So you emotionally take me back to that place. So now I show up as that traumatized young girl who like just needed answers or needed someone to explain like what was happening but never got the answers. So and then I heighten that now because now I'm bigger, now I've got strength, now I can smash things up, now I can really express myself. So now how that shows up in the home is it's going to be on 10 and that's the only way I'm comfortable to express myself in those intense kind of moments. Other than that, I'm numb. It's like a flat line.
Yeah.
Cold.
Yeah, you're cold to everything else. You don't feel it. Yeah. But then if you give me a reason to feel something, you're not going to like it. So that's kind of like the battle that you have. And it's not until I probably got to about 22 that I could really understand how that's impacted me. And I think a lot of it is, and a lot of young people, and what I think a lot of young people and professionals need to understand is that it's a lifelong grieving process. That's what it is.
I need you to say that again.
Yeah, it's a lifelong grieving process.
Wow.
But we don't acknowledge it like that. And we think that like people have to die in order for us to understand what grief is. But like a lot of us kids that grow up in care, like we're grieving people who are still alive. Yes. And I wish that like, because the section that I was under obviously is the voluntary, what is it, section 20?
Section 20, yeah.
And a lot of those kids, it's very sad to say, but our parents just don't want us. They just don't know how to deal with us. And nobody has that conversation with us. So we internalize it. And then we start we just start grieving and fantasizing. Our minds goes to places that if a professional had a raw, truthful, honest conversation with us from the beginning, I don't know if I would have presented with all those different complex behaviors. I had to figure it out for myself.
Yeah.
So it plays out in so many different ways. I hope that makes sense. I kind of went on a different tangents, but
what I was gonna say, Aliyah, I want to hold you on that bit because what you've said, and this is me, and I have my professional hat on now. What you've said, I see it. The team that I manage now, what you've just said, I see it, and I think what happens is that particularly with a lot of young people who are in the care system and then their placement breaks down, and then you mentioned about taking you back to that state and then heighten it. I think a lot of professionals don't know how to engage with that. So at times, what you often hear, and I do have to be transparent and say it, is that professional.
I'm gonna keep it real in a minute.
No, I need to say this. And let me land on this thing, because what you often hear is that professional will go and say, the young person's too high risk. We need to call time on the placement. But actually, it's whereby what you just said. If we have that conversation, that raw conversation about what's actually going on, that might make the difference, because more times the young person, basically they're on 10 and they're heightened, but that's more them saying to you, I need you to help me.
Yeah.
I really just need to help me. I need for you to explain to me because remember, trauma doesn't rationalize you.
No.
It doesn't.
No.
And I think people need to hear that. Trauma doesn't rationalize you. And Aliyah said it. Trauma, you're grieving whilst you're still living. So it doesn't rationalize your thinking. But I think if more professionals, yes, I get, yes, placements break down, but if we had that conversation to say, you know what, Aliyah, all right, you're on 10. Now, we need to talk about why you're on 10. I need to give it raw to you, because that is trauma-informed practice. You don't need to be a social worker to know that.
Exactly.
But having that conversation there, what Aliyah just said, if professionals have that convo, okay, the young person can smash up your all right, cool. All right, money, you can replace that. Have that conversation there with the young person. You're on 10. I want to know why you're on 10. You see my problem? Go on, bruv.
Sorry, before you start, I just want to say something. As well, because none of those conversations were had, when I would go into my community and have conversations with like gang members or these people that don't have their best intentions for me, and they start to act like they understand my pain more than my social worker, guess who now I'm starting to draw towards, do you understand? And so that's the, like, we talk so much about grooming, exploitation, blah, 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 but I feel like we're not having the important conversations as professionals as to like, how are we showing up in these young people's lives? Because it's grooming is not the problem. The problem is this young person feels closer to a perpetrator than a social worker. Why? Because that person's relating more to their pain than you are.
Bruv, she said it. That's it. That's it.
But I'm also going to tell you why.
Yeah, no, go on, bruv. Right, she said it, bruv. She said it.
You know, I don't like to I'm gonna be very careful what I say here, right?
No, bruv, you gotta be real, bruv.
I'm gonna keep it
real.
No,
keep it 100, bruv. Keep it 100.
So we work with vulnerable young people, okay, right? Yeah, and you know we're all professionals, and you know it's wrong to sort of like pinpoint to be, you're not doing this or you're not doing that, right? Yeah, but listen, we've got to step up. Everyone's got to step up their game, you know, right?
Yeah.
And I've worked in a lot of I've gone into a lot of care homes, right? Yeah. and there's not a lot of great key workers, you know.
No.
Sometimes some of these key workers, it's not always about the money, yeah. But sometimes they're getting paid peanuts, right? Yeah. So sometimes it's like, okay, you're getting paid peanuts, right? Yeah. What your people skills are like, right? Yeah. What's the training like? Yeah. You know, do you really actually care about this young person? Okay,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So sometimes I get phone calls. Yeah, I get phone calls. Could be like 6 o'clock in the morning. Robert, they're not listening to me. What you ringing me for?
Yeah.
You're getting paid. That's your job, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Robert, she left her period pad in the corner. What do you want me to do about it? So they ring me now, and I give her 2 cuss, and then she does it, right? Yeah. The problem that I have, right? Yeah, right now, and I'm not trying to pinpoint, right? Yeah, but for me, it is a lack of good staff, right? And that's the problem now, right? Yeah, and lack of training, yeah, and what I'm seeing here from a lot of young people, and I suppose to a degree, I'm being an advocate for young people because obviously being a mentor, being a participation worker with and whatnot, I'm talking up for them. This is what they're telling me, right? Yeah. Now, yes, we know there's not always the full truth and everything, but there's got to be some form of truth. Do you know where I'm coming from, right? Yeah. And as you said, the 14, 15, 16 young lady Aliyah, at that time, she needed the right support and the right staff around her as well. And it's still very much a very common problem. And it's sad to hear that.
Bro, it's a common problem. And as you said, you know, it is about training. But I'm going to be real. It's about the kind of worker and the person you are. Because for me as a social worker, the young people that I worked with, like the young boys that I would work with, who were involved in county lines, you're not going to get a corporate nana. That's not going to work. You're not going to get a corporate nana. Oh, why'd you keep running away? Why'd you keep running away, please? Bro, why are you trapping out in the ends? Like, you think I don't know about it? That is the root of it. And what Aliyah is saying is that I think those professionals, a lot of them, I'll be real, they don't know how to deal with... No, bro, they don't know how to, bro.
But I think as well, like... A lot of them are scared.
They're scared.
And they're not like, and they're scared. Yeah, I don't think they're also like 100% just scared of the young people, but we know how it goes. If they say the wrong thing or if something goes wrong, we know organisations are getting rid of professionals like that. Staff turnover is high. They will just get rid of you, and it's like so. Also, because I started when I came out of prison, I started working in these home settings. I started working for semi-independents and stuff like that, and. It's like there's a toxic culture within these organizations as well, where everybody's scared to make the wrong move.
Yes.
And so we talk about young people being resilient, but we need to start making organizations resilient. We need to start making that like the staff forces resilient. Because the staff are also not empowered. Like Wayno was not empowered to do his job to the best of his ability.
They're not.
So you guys, just not you guys personally, but I understand now more than I did back then how like staff or professionals would just go out on the front line and just have to treat it like a tick box exercise because at the end of the day, they're also not being empowered to fully own this
by those above.
People's lives. By the people above. So it's just
There's something, Aliyah, that you said. Sorry, bruv, innit? There's something, Aliyah, that you said. So you mentioned about the gang members, and you mentioned about how the relationship with your social worker at the time wasn't strong, and obviously the gang members who you spoke to at the time when you spoke to them, they kind of understood what was happening. What was your experience as a county lines? Because you've mentioned that, and to be honest with you, county lines in terms of girls, it's not really we don't really speak about it. It's something that is a big gap. What was actually your experience? What was happening for you at that stage?
So a lot was happening for me at that stage. I think like from that day when I went down from court and then I got dropped off to a children's home in Abbey Street in Bermondsey, something just changed in me.
Oh my gosh, I know what it is.
Yeah, something just changed in me, and like it's like I just started talking to myself differently, and you just start to like, as a kid, you just start to put yourself in survival mode. Like I just need to do whatever is necessary to survive. Yeah, I didn't understand what it means to live in a children's home. I didn't know like when and the children's homes that I lived in back then, like they were so institutionalized. Like my rooms were identical to all my cells. Like. I wasn't able to just go downstairs and go into the kitchen and start like cooking. Like I had to go ask staff members to open doors and do this and do that. So there's subtle tones that were like embedded in me as a kid that kind of, I believe, just put me on like that path of it is what it is. So we're just going to ride this until the wheels fall off, if that makes sense. And then obviously within these homes as well, you get criminalized. I've still got charges on my record that I have to explain till this day from children's homes. There's one incident where like we was bantering in the reception area. The staff wanted us to stop making so much noise and blah blah. And again, us versus them mentality was always there. We're like, this is our home. You lot just come to work here. Yeah. Allow it. We're kids. We're just bantering. What's the problem type of thing. And then because we didn't stop bantering, we then decided we was hungry. We wanted to make tuna, pasta and sweet corn. So we asked the staff member, can you open up the keys? He wanted to be spiteful because we didn't stop bantering when he told us to. He said, no, he'll do it in a minute. In a minute, turns into an hour. So we just said, we're going to come in the office and just take the key. We need to make food or whatever. So we went in the office, we took the key, we started cooking and whatever. By the time we finished cooking our tuna and pasta, police were there and we were all arrested for theft.
Wow.
Mad.
These are the things that I have to continuously
till this day.
So like, the level of like young people, particularly in residential home settings, being criminalized is like very shocking.
Very, yeah.
And I think that also knocks the fear out of me. If I get arrested with drugs now, it starts your mind starts to prepare you for these things. You get what I'm saying? Because you lot have already knocked the fear out of me when it comes to police. I wrote a blog when I first started my journey before I started Daddyless Daughters and all that stuff. And I wrote a blog about how when I was younger, we saw the police as like the father figures. They come in to enforce discipline. That's the only time they get called, really and truly. It was only when I went to Yacht and then we went to like some boxing club where that kind of changed our perception of the police, but not enough. Not enough to like have a solid impact. But yeah, so the police are like the father figures that get called in to enforce authority and discipline and that type of stuff. And social service are like the emotionally unavailable mothers. They don't know how to. Yeah.
That's powerful, you know.
Yeah, they don't know how to identify
that's powerful
needs.
though.
Have you never heard that terminology before?
I haven't, you know.
Yeah.
I'll be real. I haven't, but that's powerful though. That's powerful.
Yeah, that's how it feels as you grow up. So now when I'm meeting my man and he's introducing me to bagging up drugs or trafficking drugs from A to B and like all of those type of things, that's not fearful for me because I live in that chaos is like embedded in me, if that makes sense. So my and trauma does this has all been proven in terms of like what trauma does to the brain. There's scans out there where you can literally see how trauma will change the way your brain processes the world and information. Kids that grow up in traumatic environments, we don't identify danger as the way a professional will. This is why professionals need to be there to be able to identify and say, what you're doing is risky. Do you understand that this could lead to this? Because I don't see that as danger. I would see that as it's normal. If that makes sense. It's normalized, like going down these routes. And so that's why a lot of the work we do in Daddyless Daughters, we have to teach them. We have to normalize what a good man is.
100%.
Because our girls are so used to engaging in toxic and abusive relationships that when a good guy comes there, I don't want my man. It don't feel like it feels weird, like, you know, or they will turn that into recreate an experience and turn that into a toxic relationship.
Or if he makes a little bit of a mistake, you're penalized.
Exactly.
This is it's powerful.
So yeah, back then didn't know how to identify if this is dangerous, if this is not, and we got ourselves into some crazy situations. And so obviously how that life starts is, you know, I was introduced first to like bagging up drugs. As a kid that's grown up in care, one thing we have access to is accommodations, right? So we can sit in a one spot for days and break down drugs or do whatever's necessary for the whole operation. But it starts low level like that. And then you're introduced to, you know, trafficking drugs across the country and stuff like that. And then you get more responsibility in terms of holding phones, in terms of teaching other girls how to do these things and all of that. So it's just a kind of a knock-on effect. And then like back then, age 16, you would get your standalone. Now it's time to prove if you can do all of this type of stuff. And me, I thought that's a freedom ticket. Do you know the amount of stuff I could do in a standalone? I'm thinking more money, more all these things. I'm dreaming as a delusional young person and as a traumatized young person would do. And then it was literally from the age of 16 to 18 when those 2 years of my life just spiraled out of control. And then by the time, and I think just before I got arrested, because I got arrested when I was 17, and we'll get into that, but just before I went back to my social worker and I said, look, it's important for me to highlight, I was not the type of young person who was willing to engage. I was challenging. I made it difficult for you to want to be a part of my caseload, my life, or try and like think that you can have an impact on me. And it's mainly those girls in particular that are getting left behind, because it's like the way we present our attitudes and what it's like, oh, she deserves it then.
It's my
She
favorite
just
type of cases, you know? My
my
favorite type of
the
cases.
system deserves to teach her a lesson.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, you start to, professionals start to adopt that type of mindset instead of understanding that like, this is my trauma presenting itself. It's not me. Like,
and the social worker's like, you know what? I can't wait to transfer this case.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like how it all happens. That's how it kind of all happens. And I went back to my social worker and I said to them, look, I'm involved in some stuff that I don't understand the scale of it. Like, move me out of Peckham. That was my main thing. Just move me out of Peckham, move me out of Peckham. They literally gave me a flat. I was in, like, if anybody who knows Peckham, I was in Southampton Way. They literally gave me a flat, Queen's Road, just on the other side of Peckham.
Oh my days.
Just on the other side of Peckham.
KFC.
That flat that I had in Southampton Way, 2 shootings happened outside of that flat. And that's why I went back to them and told them, look, I don't understand the scale of what I'm involved in, move me. Then they moved me to Queen's Road. Another shooting happened outside of that flat. That was it. They put me in B&Bs from then on. And so that was a really big indication to me at that age that they don't care about my life. Like, why should I care about my life? Like, it just is what it is. I'm just going to be a statistic kind of. And I think I accepted that. And then...
Do you think, sorry to cut you out, but do you think, right, so I had a very interesting conversation with a young female case of mine, right, yeah? She's quite deep for her age. And I'm very big on, like, safe space, like the word safe space, having a safe space, being comfortable in how you talk, whatever, whatnot. And she said to me, Robert, the reason why I could talk to the man them that's maybe shot and whatever, whatnot. And guess what she said to me? She goes, the reason why I feel safe is because they understand my dysfunctional pain.
Yeah. That's what it is. And you sit with a woman professional and they'll be like, They start. That's why it was easier for me to talk to Wayne. Wayne, I could tell him the wildest story. It would be like water off his back. Do you understand? He wouldn't flinch. But the female professionals now, it's like they've got a complex when it comes to us girls that like, you know, I don't know what it might bring up some of their stuff from.
It's very judgy.
Looking down. Do you know, I want to jump on that because Aliyah's right to, you know, because even when I've worked with young girls, like as a social worker, they'll talk to me freely. Like, Nana's all right, you know. Like they'll talk to me like freely about, say like they're in a situation or they got like a boyfriend. They in my direct work, they'll talk to me. But like for some reason, when they've got social workers who are, I'm not saying all, so for my colleagues don't come for me. I'm just saying that when they've got, I gotta say that still in it. But when they've got social workers who are women, like some might kind of like, they're like, no, you're on the wrong. No, I actually deserve to be this. I don't know what it is.
No, I'll tell you what it is.
With male practitioners. But let's be careful what we say. Before we get in trouble, bruv, innit?
I think it's important for me to highlight. That's why we're daddyless daughters, because it's like it's something about a healthy masculine man's presence that will do wonders for a young woman's development. So and that's it's so important. Like I think there is, it's just, and I don't think it's even like we don't even have to really explore it. It's just life. It's just how God made it. It's just chemistry. It's just biotics. Everybody knows a woman has her son. That connection is there, and the man who has his daughter, that connection is can't be broken. If that makes sense. If that relationship is there from the get go. So
I was going to ask you another question about us getting the next episode.
So after when I went to go and live in the B&Bs, it was, once I accepted that, I thought that like, I was just going to be a statistic.
I was so moving from B&B to hostel, shooting after shooting. Were you comfortable? Were you scared? Was it just like, okay, this is the next thing? Like how were you feeling?
17 was like probably the scariest year of my life, because I originally got arrested for assisting a murder, possession of ammunition, and possession of Class A drugs with intent to supply. And I think when I heard that, and then I was sitting in that cell for like 3 days, like I thought I was finished. Like I thought I was finished, and Then not long after that, I got raped. And then not long after that, that was when I got put in a B&B. And so having to just sit with all of that and like, but it's not, you see the thing about kids, when you go into care and isolation and stuff like that, a lot of your life is sitting in a room and overthinking. And that's something that we don't talk about. You know, professionals, they pop in and out of your life and, you know, you form relationships with gang members or whoever you form relationships with or whatever. But majority of your life is sitting in a room and overthinking all the decisions you made, all the decisions your parents made, all the decisions, why did your social worker do this, da, da, da. You start to wind yourself up. You start to like, and you don't have the answers to all of these things as well. They're all just like open-ended questions that you just sit and reflect on. So yeah, that was kind of, that year was a very, very sad year. But again, like you don't have time to process it. It wasn't until
so at that
18.
time. So it was tough. You were scared, whatever, whatnot. What about? So who was your support system? Was it the?
No, there's no support system.
Oh, right, okay. So basically, it was a crowd of friends that you was. So basically, you was a part of your environment.
Everything falls apart. Everything fell apart by that time. So it was like from 16 to 18. All of those people, those friends that I kind of made affiliations with, like on the roads and stuff like that, everybody starts going to jail one by one. Like that time, it was quite a prolific time for Peckham as well. So like everything started kind of spiraling out of control. And I always did keep like my friendships with my secondary school girlfriends, but they never knew the scale of what I was involved in. Like they was like a safe space for me to go and be childish.
Yeah.
But then by then, I didn't even feel comfortable like reaching out to them or like, because I was always that girl that like their parents didn't want them to hang around with or like, you know, you get painted like, you get labels from everywhere. When you go into care and all of these type of things. So it was very difficult for me to be able to like have that safe space. I really wish Wayno was a part of my life because I would have been able to speak to him, but there was no one to speak to about nothing by then.
I want to ask you, Aliyah, and you looking back, you know, because your journey is a very, very powerful journey, and I really hope that a lot of people watching, they take heed of what Aliyah is saying, because this is real stuff that's actually happening. In terms of like when you look back, and I think it's quite important I ask this question, reports. When you look back on the reports of you, professionals, how did they describe you? The reason why I'm asking that is because a lot of the times with children, you know, who are care leavers or who've been in care for a long time, when you look at your files and look at how professionals describe you, sometimes how they describe you as well can add to that also trauma as well. But so when you've looked back and you've read it, how did they describe you? Was there ever a point you thought, well, like, is this how even you guys viewed me? Do you know what I mean? What is it that you've kind of read?
It's interesting because I don't think I was even looking for that. Like a lot of my files were blacked out, and like I wanted answers. Like I think every young person or any person who goes back for their files, like we don't even care about that stuff. We care about prior to that. What was the conversation with my mum? Yeah. Why did I never get offered therapy with my mum? Like why did I never get offered an opportunity to keep a relationship with my baby brother? Like why I'm looking for those answers in my report, and I never found them. And so I burnt those papers and I never looked back.
So do you feel that the local authority basically let you down?
100% let me down. Okay. That was very hard for me to accept. It was very hard for me to also accept that I was groomed. It wasn't until I did my most recent project, Layers, and we went back to film in Holloway prison, and I went back to my first ever cell in Holloway, that's when I just started crying. That's when it hit me how like severely neglected and abandoned and let down by social service and the system that I was. But it wasn't until you come out of that survival mode that you could actually have the strength to look back and connect the dots in that sense. And that's something I'm processing, like honestly, like recently now.
And I think, you know what, Leah, what you said about the system failing you, I mean, I know but we work for the system and all those sorts of things. But I think it's important to also hear that from you, because a lot of the times, unfortunately, you do work for a system, or we do work for a system where there's sometimes, you will have great social workers and great mentors, but it's what you said in the very, very beginning. It's about whether that system allows you to be empowered to be able to do the work you want to do for that particular young person. And it is sad, Rob, that a lot of young people, girls and boys, they do get failed. It's something that, as a social worker and as someone who's a mentor as well, that is something that we've got to be open and honest about. The system fails a lot of young people. Do you know what I mean? And it's not direct. It may not directly be that particular worker. Yeah. The system in itself just it does.
Yeah. Well.
I went to a conference last week, and I'm so sick of this, and I think this maybe like contributes to kids being failed. Is this mindset of as long as I touch one person, or if I save one person, it's like, I think like how that's so like, to me, when I used to hear those things growing up, I used to think like, you're useless. Like, how can you say, that's like being a salesman and saying, as long as I get one sale, you're going to live off that for the rest of your life. Make it make sense. Yeah. But when we're dealing with people, we look at these things so like, flippantly, like it's that, and I get it, because ultimately it's on me to change my life. You understand? Ultimately it's on me. Any professional that I came into contact with could not have changed my life. However, I came across great professionals who planted seeds. They gave me tools. I could get a hammer from you. I could get a spanner from you. When I go sit down in my cell, I start building. I start constructing something for myself, because I can take tools from anywhere I can get it, basically. You know what I'm saying? But it's that mindset that I think professionals have of like, as long as I help one person or I change one person's life, and I just think that it's dead now. I don't think we should be saying that, and I think we should aspire for more than that. We shouldn't feel comfortable knowing that people are being failed.
You're absolutely right. For me, there's so much that's not been done.
Oh yeah.
But then, as you said before, I mean, like, I'll keep it real. Like, I'm leaving my local authority job soon, right? And the main reason why is because I'm dissatisfied and I'm stale with just how certain things are. Right? And then when you try to implement, or you propose to them great ideas, guess what? I've got this idea, why don't we do that? You just get shut down.
You do.
Shut down.
You do.
And these are like game changers, And that's the problem. It's like everyone just wants to just play it safe. But playing it safe can only go so far.
Well, this is it.
And then you're failing them.
Well, bruv, this is it. This is it.
System. It's the red tape.
This is it, bruv.
And it's like we're just going round in a circle.
This is it, bruv. This is, and I think you're right. And I think sometimes, we, as Aliyah said, sometimes we do go and play it safe. We want to kind of be within. But the system.
It's the system.
That's what I'm saying. Or
specific local authorities.
Work play safe, because it's kind of like, well, when you are within the boundaries, and but something actually pushing the boundaries sometimes is a necessity, because you'll be able to make not certain but a whole range of changes to not just one young person but to a lot of young people, and that's what we need to be doing, bruv.
But I think as well, I think when you really like calculate, really the movie is, we know local authority, how a local authority is, and it's about, how can we maybe start a corporation or a business or organization, right? And then, we'll provide you with the work. So then it's almost like, it's like a partnership, innit? So I suppose that's what needs to happen more now, more than ever now.
Yeah.
And as I said before, I work with a lot of young females, and I've been saying this for the last 4 or 5 years now. They're very much neglected,
Yeah, they are,
They really, really are,
Yep.
And, a lot of them drinking, a lot of self-harming.
It's a lot.
Screaming, going missing for days. And, like, they go missing for like 2-3 days. They won't contact their social worker or their parents, or contact me,
Yeah.
But I'll talk to them.
But bruv, it goes back to what Aliyah said. You build, if they've got that relationship with that one person. Remember, the young person's calling you, not their social worker. You have to find out the reason why they're not contacting they're contacting you, because you've got the relationship. But, you know what I'm saying?
But then guess what? Like, it shouldn't always be this way to a degree. Do you know what I mean? So obviously,
it shouldn't be this way. But Aliyah said that, if Wayno was there, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Robert is here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Robert is here, and you're that person who's going to make that change. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that, yes, you go to the social worker, but I'm saying that you're that person that young person knows, all right, cool, I can speak to Robert. Do you know what I'm saying? You're the one who's gonna make that change, bro. Brothers unfortunate, bro. I gotta say how it is. Not every young person link with their social worker, but they might link with their mentor, bro. Let's keep it real.
No, you're right, but let me make my point. It's not about me, right? This is about a generic thing I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right? I'm just using it as an example. I'm just saying generically, right? Certain guidelines and certain relationships have to be changed, right?
Oh yeah.
So prime example, we know the local authority might pay for maybe a young Aliyah to be in this semi-independent home, right? Yeah. So they're paying for you, right? Yeah. And then they might be paying the home a certain amount of money to look after you, but then it's like a business. Just like coming from, and then the nurturing that you're supposed to be getting from maybe the key workers or the organization.
That attachment isn't there.
The attachment isn't there because it's a business. Do you know what I mean, right? Yeah. One of the questions I just wanted to ask you though, right? Yeah, is what do you think was needed?
Yeah.
For Aliyah at 14, 15, 16, 17, what did you think you needed?
I needed to see somebody or something that like had similar upbringing to me, or like I needed representation basically.
Okay.
Yeah, I needed representation. And I think like this is why I'm very passionate about the production work and stuff that we do, because the only representation we had was Tracy Beaker, and it was lies, and it messed up the way that society treated us as girls in care. And I needed to see something other than like, rappers or what was going on the TV or like all of that type of stuff. I needed to see different routes. There wasn't many options. There wasn't many routes that are presented to you as a girl who grows up in these environments. You're told back then anyway, you become baby mama, you get your flat. Yeah, that's how you're going to get out. That's how you secure that. Or you get with a drug dealer, you get with a fraud, you get with a dope boy or whatever. They make enough money to get you out of these type of situations and whatnot. Or you go into sex work. That's it. The only other routes that we saw were like our mothers. And these are like, my mum went on to do alcoholism. She was an alcoholic. Do you understand? That's how her story is going to end. My other friend's mum at that time, she was a prostitute. Like my other friend's mum, she was a drug addict. It got to when we started doing county lines and stuff like that, I saw my own friend sell drugs to her own mum. You understand? So it's like there's not many routes for girls like us. They're not showing us many routes. You understand?
Yeah.
And as much as I understand how much social media has had a negative impact, but it's also shown girls that come from where I come from multiple ways to get out of this. Now you're seeing hair and beauty. Now you're seeing girls start clothing lines. Now there's other things that are out there that you could kind of grab onto and add that to your toolkit.
Yeah.
But when I was coming up, there wasn't much of that. And so it was just kind of inevitable.
Do you know what's so powerful, what Aliyah said? Aliyah mentioned Toolkit. And that goes back to that conference that we went, Hood Lessons, with Andrew Fuller. And I did training on it recently, and they mentioned about young people's toolkit. What is it you're going to be putting in their toolkit? And what Aliyah said about representation, these are things that I'm hoping that professionals are listening to. What toolkits are we going to be giving our young people? What representation is there for our young people, particularly our young people who are in care, girls and boys, and particularly those who are maybe starting from that? I'm going to go even further from the beginning, from the referral. What representation is there for those young people? Yeah, in terms of their toolkit, what are we going to be giving them? What are we going to be giving their parents? How are we going to be able to change our way of practice? Can we start pushing the boundaries? Can we not be so focused? The red tape's important, but can we start to move the red tape a little bit? Because actually, if we're not doing this, young people are going to continue to be failed. And Aliyah said it. The LA where she was failed her. We can't keep failing our young people.
And I think as well, this red tape stuff, like, I think a lot of social workers need to start pushing back on like whoever's making these policies and procedures and stuff like that, because like if you remove a child from a situation or a child ends up in care, you are their corporate parent. There should be no red tape.
Yeah.
There should be no red tape. There's no red tapes in other households, like in normal functioning households. Do you get what I'm saying? So if you're going to remove people's children, show up for them properly. That's just a basic line. You understand? Or we need to review this whole thing and understand, should we be removing children? 100%. Should we actually be rebuilding families? Should we focus on family centers? Or like
family group conferences? It's true.
Approach, because you can't remove someone's kid and constantly re-traumatize them, neglect them and abandon them, which is a form of an abuse.
Yeah.
And within why they got removed in the first place.
Within the system.
You're
re-traumatizing them.
You that,
no, it's true.
And then turn around. It's a form of gaslighting. And then turn around to the kid and say to the kid, it's now on you to fix your behavior. But you don't understand my trauma. So you don't even understand how my brain is wired as to why I'm showing up the way I'm showing up. But it's my responsibility to now fix it. Like what we're actually doing when you break it down is so scary. It's so
it is.
I find, look, Nana's a social worker. We always you have a little back and forth. I love social workers, right? Yeah, but sometimes I find they lack individualism, and what I mean by that, right, is like,
bro, you need to run that back and say that again. Because you know what I'm saying. I know, because you need to say that, and I think LAs need to hear you say that, bruv. So just run that again, man.
I just think sometimes they lack individualism, right? And what I mean by that is, you can stick to your guidelines as a social worker of your job or what you're supposed to be. But individually, right, one of the most important things is the well-being of that young person.
Yeah.
How do I make sure that the well-being and the mental health of this young person is going to be first and priority, right? Then everything else comes after. Do you know what I mean? As you said before, are they experiencing any trauma? Is mum and dad in the picture? Where are the siblings? Do they go to school? Education, which we haven't spoken about with you as well. I mean, like, how was that? I mean, for me, education is so important for a young person, but sometimes education is not even top of the young person's list in their life. Do you know what I mean?
I have a young person right now, and like literally no mainstream school is taking her
because of her profile.
Because she's a care kid basically, and they understand what comes with that, and so they're trying to push her into some academy that's literally designed for girls who are being sexually exploited.
There we go then.
So it's like it also, I'm really going to start looking into it. Like, I want to know who are all these corporate parents that we're talking about, and who is actually responsible for all of this stuff, because I don't think we're pushing back on them enough and challenging them on what it actually means.
But it's what you, Aliyah and Rob said, that social workers were, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I'm speaking for me, I'm built differently, and that's why sometimes I used to get in a bit of like telling off, because for me, my individualism, how I practice, I weren't corporate, and I'm not a corporate social worker. I'm just keeping it facts, people. Really, I'm not a corporate social worker, and I don't believe that a corporate way is going to help you with these cases that we're going to work. So I always used to push the boundaries, because I felt I've got to practice differently with my young people. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think what you said, bruv, is powerful. That social workers are scared to be individuals. You're right, and Aliyah said it. Who are these corporate parents? No, it's facts. But you know what? I want to say, Aliyah, I have to thank you. I absolutely have to thank you so much. Nah, bruv, the respect. Nah, honestly, Aliyah, I have to thank you so much for... Bro, I'm trying to big her up not nicely, and he's just doing this, he's doing all this. But I'm going to do it as well, innit? But no, Aliyah, I have to thank you so much for your powerful story. Honestly, I think what you've said, your journey, you are an inspiration. You are going to inspire a lot of young girls and also a lot of young men as well who listen to this, that, you know what, guys, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Do you know what I mean? And I really want every single one of you, you're going to see it here, I really want you to follow Aliyah, follow her journey. Local authorities, you need to tap into her. All 32 boroughs, all of you, you need to tap into her, Directors, managers, you need to tap into Aliyah. But Aliyah, thank you so much for your story.
Listen, keep winning, keep doing what you're doing.
Keep winning.
Keep being great.
Trust me.
And man.
Yeah. But guys, you know what to do. You like, subscribe, you share, follow Miss Ali, please,
And if you don't, it's problems,
speak for you, bruv, innit? All right, take care, guys, See you soon.